I'm Libby Birky. We're in Denver, Colorado at the same cafe. I'm the co-founder of it. My husband and I started it 3 years ago. It is a non-profit restaurant that serves anybody who walks through the door healthy, organic, locally made food, usually soup, salad, and pizza. We started it because we saw there was a need for healthy food getting out into the community, and there was this discrepancy between the people who could afford organic food and really healthy food and people who didn't have access to it. So we wanted to bridge that gap. So we created a safe environment, safe space where anybody can come and get a healthy meal. You can either leave a donation for what you feel your meal is worth, to you, what's fair to you, or you can exchange work for food in our kitchen. We were flying back from Austin, Texas. We were visiting my sister, and we just decided we needed to do something different. We'd been working in soup kitchens and shelters, volunteering once a week, making food, and just saw there wasn't a population of people who were going in there. There weren't any single moms in there. There weren't any kids in there. There weren't any elderly people. There weren't any college kids. And we thought it was really interesting that those populations of people weren't using soup kitchens and homeless shelters, but we're in need of those services by, you know, a lot of the conversations that we had with people. And we were on this flight and we decided that Brad wanted to do something a little bit different with his life. He was a computer consultant and was feeling a little bored at his job, so he wanted to go to culinary school. And so we said, well, what do you do with culinary school? Like, if you go to culinary school, you should probably go work in a restaurant or do something. But we didn't really want the restaurant life. We thought, you know, working till 2 a.m. every night and working on holidays, and that wasn't something that we were interested in. So we decided that we had to open something of our own. And it was like this interesting moment when the two things collided. Like, he wanted to go to culinary school, and we had been doing this service weekly, going to soup kitchens and shelters, and it was just like, instantly we knew exactly what we had to do. And it came to us, and we still have the piece of paper where we wrote down all of our initial ideas. And it's interesting what's stuck and what got tossed. We said we'd serve breakfast, but I said, I ixnayed that right away because I can't get up in the morning. We paid off our car so that if all else failed, we at least had our car. We decided to move to a smaller house, so we sold our home and moved into a smaller home with a smaller mortgage, so that even if this wasn't, you know, super profitable, we were going to be okay. Brad continued working his part-time job. He was actually full-time through culinary school. He'd go to work during the day and then culinary school at night. And so his job was wonderful. They allowed him to go to part-time once we opened this, so he was working here full-time and then part-time as a computer consultant, which was great because he was making good money per hour, and that was helping us out. And I stayed teaching, so we still had health insurance through my employment. So I just stopped teaching this year. This is my first year out of the classroom. And most of it really was just to keep that same kind of financial basis and make sure that we were, you know, not throwing caution to the wind, but doing it in a wise, kind of at least orderly and thoughtful way. It starts usually going to producers or even the grocery store if we need like something, a specialty item, because the menu changes every day. We cook in such small batches that I don't need 50 pounds of apples. I just need, you know, almost what a household would need. So you know, we start with the grocery store, then we come here and we work from we get here about 9:30 until we open at 11. So then we're doing all the prep work. We're chopping all the vegetables, cooking, you know, making all the cookies, prepping the pizza dough, all of that kind of stuff. 11 o'clock we open. We serve until 2, and people hang out as long as they want. And then we clean up. We do the dishes. We sweep the floor, mop, and we go home. Probably usually about 5 o'clock. After then, we head to the basement, do all the accounting for the day, all the emails and phone calls, and then we're home about 5:30. So it's kind of a 9 to 5 job in a way. We invested $30,000 of our own money in the beginning because we couldn't find any bank or anybody who would loan us any money. So we took all of our life savings and all the money out of our 401ks and IRAs. Our parents weren't too excited about that. And and we put it into the restaurant. We loaned it to the restaurant, which was great, and the restaurant was able to loan it back within the first year, or to pay it back within the first year. And really financially, we operate on what's donated in the donation box every day. It covers the costs of the electricity, the rent, the food that we purchase, and we purchase all of our own food in order to make sure that it's really high quality. And there are oftentimes farmers who will make donations to us, but usually we're purchasing our food from local producers and farmers so that we can ensure the quality is really high. But yeah, and what we don't get from the donation box is covered by individual supporters, local businesses, foundations, and grants. But it's about 25% of our operating budget is we kind of depend on those outside sources. But most of it comes from the generosity of people who are coming through the door. And like, we are so lucky to do this job because it is the most rewarding thing ever. We have lots of people who come to us and say, you know, I wouldn't have eaten today if it weren't for you. I can think of one guy in the neighborhood who is an elderly man. He lives by himself, has never cooked ever, not a day in his life. His wife died a year and a half ago, and he's eaten out every meal since she passed away because she cooked every meal for him. And so he comes here and eats and has good food and builds community with us, and it's just really cool to make that connection to people in the neighborhood and to have that kind of relationship with people. We've had single moms come in and work during the week when their kids are at school, and then bring their kids in on the weekend on Saturday and eat dinner with them, and their kids get fresh fruits and vegetables and the pizza. The kids love pizza, but it's, you know, whole wheat crust, so we feel like at least we're giving them a little something good. And the kids never know that, you know, the mom is, you know, it's one of those things that allows a certain dignity to still be maintained, that the kids never know that their family is struggling or that the mom's working really hard to make ends meet, and so she can work during the week in a private, very, you know, dignified way where she doesn't have to admit to anyone that she really needs help, and then her kids get to come here on Saturday, they come to a restaurant, things seem good and normal, and she gets to maintain while she's trying to, you know, put the pieces back together. And those are the kinds of situations that I feel the most empowered by, that, you know, we're making a difference to her, even if it's just, you know, that her kids get to eat in a regular restaurant and it seems a little bit normal. I'm the luckiest person on the planet. I mean, and that we created this space, and, you know, that we have, it's like people get to come to my house every day, and I get to hang out with the most diverse crowd of people ever that I would never, ever have come in contact with if it weren't for this place. And it just keeps renewing my faith in the human being and just mankind in general, that everybody's good. Everybody just wants to have someone who knows their name and appreciates them for the gifts that they have. And this is a space that I could have never dreamed would, I mean, never. I totally believe in the net appearing. So if you have an idea that you think, you know, could help somebody else or could change, you know, a system that you think is broken, and it takes a lot of risk. Most great things take risk. I mean, nothing happens without a little bit of, you know, risk involved. And so I think the most beautiful part about taking those leaps is that the net appears. When you believe that it's going to work, and you almost create the net yourself. You say, this is going to work, I believe it wholeheartedly. When you have that kind of faith, I think people just believe it too, and will come along with you and help you weave that net that appears then and says, look, it did work. It is a huge leap of faith. It's a huge risk. But what Brad and I kept thinking to ourselves was, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, the absolute worst thing that can happen is we could lose our $30,000. And we thought, that's all right. It would be, I think, you know, if we had looked back on our lives and had thought about the fact that we had this great idea and we never did it, we would never forgive ourselves. We would think, what if? Oh, we should have. Oh my gosh. And I just didn't want to live that way. I was like, let's just do it, because I don't ever want to be, you know, 65 sitting in bed and saying we should have.